This radio program is intended to be for informational purposes only. This information does not constitute legal advice. The law constantly changes. The information may not be complete or correct depending on the date and your particular legal problem. Each legal problem depends on its individual facts, and different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations. Because of that, you should not act or rely on any information in this segment without seeking the advice of a competent attorney licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction for your particular problem. And we happen to have one of those right across the microphone from us. Marshall Chriswell joins us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us again. It's been a while since you've been on the air. You were on the air when we were in the other studio, weren't you?
I don't think so.
I think you were.
Okay, maybe. I don't recall that.
Yeah, years ago. But that being the case, you've been on for quite a long time with us, offering some legal advice for us. So I want to just take a couple of moments and sort of review what your law firm is and what your law firm does, and why your law firm stands out in your mind, and some of the goals that you have.
Sure, I think that's a great idea. I have a civil firm, so it's a general civil practice, and I don't handle much in the way of criminal law, but I have a general civil practice that deals with a wide variety of issues. I handle real estate transactions, as well as estate planning, probate estates, civil litigation. A lot of that civil litigation work encompasses real estate disputes, boundary disputes, quiet title actions, neighbor disputes, trespassing issues, those sorts of things. But I handle all sorts of civil disputes, contract actions, as well as business law. Small business formation is a lot of what I do. I enjoy working with entrepreneurs who are starting businesses and trying to figure out, okay, what's the best business entity for me to have, whether it's an LLC or a corporation or a partnership, getting those small businesses formed, and then guiding small business owners through the things that come up along the way, the legal issues, and also helping them comply with the formalities that are required to have a business entity in Pennsylvania, making sure to keep them legal. Mm-hmm. And so we do those kinds of things, drafting contracts, reviewing contracts, landlord-tenant law. I represent both landlords and tenants when those sorts of issues arise. So it's a general civil practice, and I've got a billboard on the other side of town that says I can do that for you, and that's where that comes from. I really have my practice encompasses a wide variety of things. Often when we get together for these conversations, we warn people against do-it-yourself lawyering. Against scrolling on the internet, finding something, Googling something, and saying, okay, now I'm an expert and I can handle this. Generally, people aren't as literate as they think that they are in the matters of the law. That's why you got to go to law school. That's right, and I think it's not even just law. I mean, across all so many areas now, whether it be medicine or or home improvements or all sorts of things. The availability of information is really a double-edged sword. It's so great to have all of that information available to us, mainly on the internet. But it's really dangerous when you read a little snippet on the internet, and I know with law particularly, you read a few sentences and you think, oh, okay, I've got this. This is how it is, and I can do this myself. That's absolutely not the case. Most of the time when you're reading a blog or some sort of information on the internet about a legal topic, a lot of times it doesn't apply to your jurisdiction, whether it be your state or local laws. And a lot of times it's just flat wrong, or it's incomplete. It doesn't take into account the particular set of facts and circumstances that you're dealing with. This is somebody else's situation, and that's what lawyers do. lawyers, when we go to law school, yeah, we learn the laws. You've got to memorize some laws or learn how to research the law. But the biggest thing is to learn how to apply a particular set of facts and circumstances, apply the law to that particular set of facts and circumstances. So, every case is different. And you'd think, well, I mean, how different can they be if you've got you've got neighbors who are having a boundary dispute or a trespass issue, as I was just saying. Aren't those all the same? Well, no, they're not. There are different circumstances that come into play in every case, and you have to be able to take the law and say, okay, how does it work in this case? And that's what you can't get from the internet.
I think a lot of people have an idea that because of some urban legend that is out there, they have an idea of how to skirt around a particular law or a particular legal issue. I'll give you an example. The idea of a dog that is a biter. And if you put up the sign that says beware of dog, that means that you are aware that the dog is a biter, and therefore that makes you more liable than if you were not to put a sign up warning people that sometimes the dog is a little bit out of control. How much of that urban legend do you have to, I don't know if you can quantify it, how much of it do you have to dispel before you can actually move forward with someone's legal case?
Absolutely. That's something that in every case, I spend a lot of time with potential clients and clients talking through the facts of their case and how the law applies to it. And you're right, they're in a lot of situations, you've really got to kind of cut through and say, okay, this is what you've read, or this is what your neighbor has told you, or this is the presumption that you might be under, but here's really how what the law says about that, and not only what the law says, how it applies to your case, and then how might a judge interpret that, or what happens if you get that in front of a jury, because that's a whole other the whole other side of it, that there's the black letter of the law, and then there's also knowing your audience, so to speak. So there are all those things, and you're right. Folks come in and it's no fault of anybody's. It's just that's the information that you have, and those are the preconceived notions that in any area of work. If I have somebody come over to fix my roof, I don't know a thing about roofs, So I may spout off something and say, well, maybe you need to use a rubber patch and do this, and then the roofer's probably going to put me in my place and say, no, that's really not what we need do here.
No, he wants your business, so he'll try to make you feel like, okay, that's one way to approach it, but here's another one.
Right.
But you have to generally, I don't want to say coddle someone, but you certainly do have to be pretty firm in the way that you present the actual facts of the whatever case that they're involved in, and at the same time, not belittle them or make them feel as if that they've done something wrong before they bring their case to you.
Right, and like I said, it's not someone's fault if they don't have if they don't have the information or the experience to know the value of their case or what the potential outcomes are. It's my job to explain those things, and but sometimes it does need to be a little bit firm. Certainly that, it's not going to be rude, but sometimes, you've got to understand where you're headed, because a lot of times, there's a lot of money and there's a lot of stress at stake down the road.
Yeah. One of the things that I was thinking about just a couple of moments ago, and we've said this often, and I assume this is the case with most, if not all, attorneys, that initial consultation, you and I have talked about this before, when someone has an idea that they need an attorney, and they knock on your door, they make the call, they come in for that initial consultation, that's extremely important for where they're going to go with this case from the moment they walk through your door until you finally reach a conclusion.
It is. The initial consultation is hugely important. It's, and like I said, I spend a good amount of time in those initial consultations, with the potential client, just really talking through the issues and really trying to get an understanding of where they're coming from. It's not only, what's the law and what are the facts, but it's also what is this particular client's goal. Because that's the other thing that varies dramatically in every case. I can have similar cases, but I can have clients that just have totally different outcomes that they'd like to see from it, and it's my job to do the best that I can to meet those goals.
As an attorney, I'm sure you come up against cases where both sides are right. And that's an awfully difficult concept to get a grip on if you're the one side who believes the other party is wrong. But both sides can have very good and valid points. It's just in the way that they look at it and then the way they choose to resolve their dispute.
That's true. That's absolutely true, and it's so important to be able to see the other side's point of view, and that's something that. Whenever you're embroiled in some kind of a legal dispute and you are the party, you generally have blinders on. Just all of us do. When we're dealing with a stressful situation, we tend to see things only from our own point of view. We can't see where the other guy is coming from, and that's where a legal professional comes in. That's where a lawyer comes in and says, "Okay, I'm the cool head in the room, and I'm trying to gauge what is everybody's goals here? What does everybody have to gain and lose, and where is the other side coming from?" Because as we've discussed, almost every case is resolved by some kind of a settlement. Most cases, sorry. I don't know if it's 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, what the current stats are. But so to reach that resolution that meets your client's goals, you've got to know where the other party is coming from and what is likely to motivate them to resolve the case. And you can't see that if you're the person who's embroiled in that dispute.
So on a relative basis, it's very rare that you have to put on the powdered wig and go in and actually argue the case in a courtroom.
We have lots of hearings, lots of motions practice, lots of hearings, but to actually get to trial, and you always have to be prepared to go to trial. That's part of it. Sure. Okay, you have to be, you have to be totally prepared to go to trial in every case, and that's how you get favorable results. But to actually go to trial, it is few and far between.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He is Marshall Chriswell. For folks who want to get in touch with you and maybe avail themselves of your services, what do they need to do?
Give me a call at 724-465-5826. Stop by and see us in the Atrium Building, downtown Indiana, or go online to westernpalawyer.com.
There you go. Keep it in the fairway today, okay?
I'm going to try.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM.